In just a few hours, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro will make his first court appearance in New York City.
Now, he and his wife are being held in a Brooklyn jail after they were captured in a U.S. military operation on Saturday. Retired Marine Colonel and Senior Advisor for the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Mark Kansian, joining us to talk about that operation. Colonel, there's a lot of things to break down when we look at this operation here, but we'll start with, were you surprised to see boots on the ground there in the way that we carried out this operation?
I was surprised to see boots on the ground. The fact that we attacked Venezuela was not surprising. We've been setting that up for several weeks. But I had thought that boots on the ground would be too risky because of the potential loss of life and loss of equipment. But the U.S. military was able to fight its way into Caracas, land, snatch Maduro, and then get out, all without any U.S. fatalities or loss of equipment. It was an extraordinary achievement.
Okay, and we were talking in the commercial break. There are a lot of strands here, right? So we have the military operation itself, we have the international relations and the legal parts of all this. So ignoring the last two, just talking about this military operation, talk about the months of planning that requires to execute something to this level, and to your point and what you said, pretty seamlessly.
It did go through seamlessly. There are two aspects here. The first is the military side, coordinating all the different parts. There were elements from all of the military services. General Kane talked about 150 aircraft that all had to come together on a timeline, which was successful. The other piece was the intelligence piece. That is, we had to know where Maduro would be at a certain time so we could launch the raid and capture him and not miss him. It's important to keep in mind that two previous U.S. efforts like this failed. In 1980, we tried to rescue the hostages in Tehran. That was a terrible failure. And in 2003, we tried to attack Saddam Hussein and his senior officials. Those attacks didn't work either. Our kill chain just wasn't fast enough. This was a great improvement.
Colonel, as we look at this operation, how does the military weigh? And I know they're following orders, but following taking out a bad actor, which we know Nicolás Maduro is, versus the international laws that may say that you can't do it in the fashion that may be the best for the military?
Well, the military defers to the civilian officials here. I'm sure that General Kane had run this by his lawyers. He has lawyers on staff and satisfied that this was, at least according to the administration, an acceptable use of military force. Of course, these issues are going to be fought out in the courts. Maduro will be going on trial. He will be raising all of these issues in his defense. So there'll be an opportunity for the judicial system to weigh in on whether this was legal and what elements were legal, what his status is.
And Colonel, excuse me, we know that the Trump administration is expected to brief Congress tonight about what exactly happened in this operation. What will congressional members actually learn? Will they learn everything in this classified briefing, or are there going to be some things that they might not know?
Well, they hope to get a thorough briefing about what forces were involved, how long they were on the ground.
Seemingly having some issues with the Colonel's audio there. Colonel, we can hear you now.
There we go.
Okay, sorry. I'm sure they'll want to hear about U.S. casualties, about Venezuelan casualties, about how many troops were on the ground, and a lot of details like that. Also, the judicial, legal aspects. But in the past, they've been very unsatisfied with briefings that the administration has given. They've, for example, briefed about their attacks on alleged drug smuggling vessels in the Caribbean, and many congressional leaders came away from that unsatisfied.
Colonel, before we let you go, I do want to ask, okay, the operation is done. We have Maduro on U.S. soil. As we mentioned, he's going to be in court today. But what does this look like going forward? Will we see boots on the ground again? Trump last night on Air Force One saying that the possibility of a second Venezuelan strike is not off the table if Venezuela doesn't cooperate with U.S. demands. What does the future of the U.S. military's presence in Venezuela look like?
It's important to keep in mind that this was a raid, so there's no U.S. presence on the ground right now. The president sees the future as him and the administration giving direction to the government in Venezuela and them carrying it out. And if they don't, launching additional strikes. I think it's unrealistic to think that a Maduro set of officials are going to do what the United States tells them to do. I think that eventually we'll need to enforce our authority. That will be another set of strikes. Whether that leads to some sort of presence on the ground, whether it's U.S. military, whether it's peacekeepers from other countries, whether it's some sort of civilian presence, commissioners, that remains to be seen. But in situations like this, you need something on the ground to make sure that your directions are being carried out.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.